Trauma looks like carrying the past in my body and confusing chaos for love. My parents were heavy drug addicts and alcoholics.
Trauma can leave lasting marks, some that you can see, but oftentimes some that you don't see. But it can change everything. Many times, the hardest thing about trauma isn't actually the traumatic event itself, but its aftermath. Today we're sitting with Brittney, who's going to be talking about a type of pain that many people don't talk about. She won't just be sharing about what she lost, but about how it changed the way that she sees herself, the way that she sees others. Brittney, to start, first I want to ask you, have you ever experienced something in your life that you would consider a trauma?
Yeah. I have experienced complex trauma, where my trauma wasn't necessarily one bad thing that happened, but a environmental thing. Many different bad things that happened that kind of domino affected into being put in other dangerous situations with dangerous people who harmed me as a child, and it just kind of has been a cycle that I have been working to break for a long time, but I still see that in myself in adulthood to this day. Yeah.
You mentioned that it's something that you're still working on to this day. So how has experiencing, and you mentioned not just one traumatic event, but a series of repeated traumatic events throughout your childhood, how would you say that it affects you now, day to day, or how it affected you growing up?
Yeah, I think like trauma looks like carrying the past in my body and fear of abandonment and confusing chaos for love and people pleasing, setting boundaries with people, having trouble setting boundaries with people. I do still feel myself kind of scanning the room for danger even when I'm safe.
Scanning the room for danger, typically we call that hypervigilance. And so oftentimes that can happen when people don't feel safe. I have to look around the room, who could be in here that wants to harm me?
Almost like there's this feeling inside me that anything could really come to fruition at any moment, whether that's in the same room as me or not, because my biggest fear to this day is my parents' relapse, because I grew up with my parents were heavy drug addicts and alcoholics, and I was taken from them when I was about 5 years old and wasn't allowed to live with them in a proper household till I was about 15, along with my younger brother, who's 3 years younger than me, so he was like 2 at the time. They're clean now, thank God, but they could relapse at any moment, and I fear their death. I mean, they would be missing for like days, weeks, months at a time, and I didn't know whether they were dead or alive like my whole life growing up, and that is something I kind of obsessed over as a child, like having this parentification happen when I was very young, where I needed to grow up way too fast and take care of myself and take care of my brother and protect my little brother, and feeling like I needed and wanted to protect my parents, but not having the power to, being too young.
I am sorry that you experienced so much so young that you should have never had to deal with. I am curious because what I'm hearing from you is this deep responsibility to be on alert to save your parents. Is that accurate?
For sure.
As a young adult now, do you think that it is the responsibility of a 6-year-old, of a 7-year-old, to save and protect their parents?
No. It might have not been my responsibility, but it was my I couldn't imagine a world where I actually lost them and didn't have them in my life.
That makes sense, because you love them deeply.
It's not just them now. It's just now that's how my brain has wired itself. I've just been through trauma, rewired to kind of just be this way with the people I love, which is complicated because it does affect my relationships as an adult now.
When you say that trauma has rewired your brain into now I am this way with people, what is this way? What does that mean?
I avoid conflict. I spent so many years not being in control and not having a say and being so scared of loss that I treat my relationships in my life very seriously, and I confuse chaos for love a lot in my relationships. I dated a guy who was also an addict last year, and he treated me very badly, and I had this I need to fix them thing that is so clearly because of what I went through. It's easier now to look at romantic relationships and even friendships and set those boundaries with those people now, seeing that that they aren't my family. I guess.
How do you set those boundaries with people maybe who are in your life that are bringing up these sorts of things that you experienced previously from your childhood trauma?
I feel like it's more setting boundaries with myself. It's more of I need to control how much I give away of myself, and how I need to let go of the need to fix everything, and I need to let people just live their lives, and I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of people can relate to that, especially when it's people like family, like a mom or dad, that being around them, talking to them, brings up a lot of negative memories, negative emotions. How do we set boundaries? Is there anything that maybe you've tried that has worked well, not worked so well?
When I was 20 or 21, I moved away from my hometown, which is Miami, and that was a huge boundary I set with not just my family, but my entire life up until that point. Moving away from home was a big boundary.
And what did that mean to you? Physically separating yourself from the people that your brain tells you, I need to protect and save them at all times.
So many things. It meant that I chose myself. And for the first time, I really chose me. And for the most part, I've been able to distract myself day to day with things that I want to do with my life that I think I deserve. I didn't have a choice for so long. My whole life was not about me at all. And also just giving myself that gift of independence. And I have big dreams, and I've always had big dreams, and I am able to pursue those. And actually I figure I've survived up until this point. There's a reason I'm here still.
I would love to hear some of those big dreams that you mentioned.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an actor really bad. And now I'm a working actor. It's how I pay the bills. And I moved to New York, and I did comedy in New York on stage and sketch, and did stand-up and improv. And it was like I was independent and walking around New York City, taking the train with my headphones on, with my like sketching stuff in my journal, reading, like listening to music I never listened to before, wearing clothes I would never imagine wearing, like experimenting with all sorts of different art forms and styles, and trying to just like express myself and feel that freedom for the first time.
And while you're walking around New York City, you're chasing your dreams, you're living out your freedom. I imagine that voice that you should be protecting your parents. What's going on with them? Are they safe? I imagine that voice didn't just go away.
No, and it's less of a like intrusive thought
Or that
type
gut
thing.
feeling.
It's more of the gut feeling, and like, you know, I would spend every day trying my best to be the happiest that I could be and give myself the life that I want. But then, you know, one phone call from home would kind of shatter all of that. And I remember, I implemented a lot of things. I got assaulted on the subway platform when I lived in New York, and it was really scary. And I then was like, okay, I'm by myself as a woman living in New York City. I have to do something about this, so, you know, to protect myself. So I started training Muay Thai. And I remember I was in the middle of a training session in New York. I was like so sweaty, and I was like, in the middle of my training, I had this like pain in my gut that kind of just shot up, and I was like, I knew something was wrong. And I went to the locker room and I checked my phone, and I had like 14 missed calls from my best friend's mom. And so I called her back, and then, you know, there's like screaming and crying on the phone, and it's an ambulance in the background, and there's her mom's just like screaming, like freaking out, saying that my mom had relapsed and she's gonna die, and I need to get back there right now, and that like no one's doing anything. It was just like, I guess it was going on at home or something, and no one was telling me anything. I ran out of that gym so sweaty and barefoot in New York City. It was disgusting, actually, when I think about it. But I ran outside and I just collapsed to the ground, and I started fucking hyperventilating and like borderline seizing on the ground because of like trying to find a flight, because that is exactly what I fear, that type of phone call.
That sounds incredibly difficult.
Mm-hmm.
There's a distress of experiencing like a singular traumatic event, and then there's that anxiety that lingers, that alarm, that gut feeling, that fear that the danger is still happening.
Mm-hmm.
And my job as a therapist basically is to teach people, okay, that alarm, we need to turn it off because that danger is no longer happening. But something that you brought up is complex trauma. What do we do when that danger is still happening?
Yeah.
What do you do? How do you handle it?
I keep myself distracted and busy, and I make art, and I journal, and I write, and I train and exercise, and I meditate, and I do all the things I'm supposed to check off on a list that's gonna keep me sane for as long as possible. And I try to thoroughly, genuinely enjoy my life in between, and I do.
So I know that you do comedy. So is there anything therapeutic or calming about your comedy that helps you cope with your trauma?
Totally. I think that most comedians probably have trauma, But it's all of my art and everything that every type of expression, I think, is a coping strategy for sure. And just wanting to feel joy is like, I just want to live a happy life, and I want to laugh and be silly. Right now.
What advice do you have for other young people who have experienced trauma, who are still experiencing trauma?
I would say, yes, all those things happen to you, but you somehow managed to survive it, and that's gotta mean something. And now you owe it to yourself to give yourself the life that you want. And through what you went through, you probably like are, resilient, empathetic, intuitive, independent. There's all these things you have to recognize. Don't do a disservice to yourself by being afraid to change your perspective, and keep working on your perspective, because it's really powerful and important to recognize the positive things that come out of like these very, very, very dark situations.
Yeah. And you're a wonderful example that trauma does not have to stop your life. You can live through traumatic, horrible things and still go on. You can still carry out your dreams. Those things that are stopping you, those things that are holding you back, the panic attacks, the beliefs that you're a bad person or that the world is unsafe, that feeling unsafe, you could have let it stop you.
Totally.
You could have completely just locked yourself in your house and never left, right?
Totally.
The world is unsafe. I need to stay here. But despite that feeling, you still went out that door. You still got on a plane. You still went after your dreams. Well, Brittney, thank you so much for sharing
Thank you
your
for
experience.
listening.
Yes, of course.
Letting me yap.
You are incredibly brave and strong and resilient. You have inspired me from hearing your story. So thank you.